From Launch Fishers and Fishers, Indiana, the Jacob Pyle Show presents the Night Talk Sessions. These conversations that you are about to see were originally shown on YouTube between September and October of 2023 when the show was originally titled Night Talk. But with the popularity of the Jacob Pyle Show on YouTube, these episodes are now being shown again in its entirety, from beginning to end, with no edits, cuts, stops, or interruptions. With tonight's guest, nurse practitioner Tina Baxter, and the host of our show, Jacob Pyle.
Hello everybody and welcome to Night Talk. My name is Jacob Pyle, and our guest already knows this, but for the sake of the viewers at home, 30 minutes of unscripted conversations, but with a difference. No screaming, no shouting, no cussing, and the topics have been approved by me before the show. My guest for tonight on Night Talk is a nurse practitioner from Anderson, Indiana. Would you please welcome to the show via Skype, Tina Baxter. Tina, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. The one thing I should point out to you, there is a little bit of a feedback. There's we're trying to set this is our first remote interview we've done, so just kind of bear with me as we're doing this. So let's just start with the basics. How did you get started in the business?
Well, I started out as a registered nurse. I went to school, became a registered nurse, and I was working on the psychiatry unit, and I decided to go back to school and get my master's degree. And originally I was going to get a master's in business, and then I thought, okay, I'll get a master's in education. Then so I bounced around a little bit, and I ended up being a double major with a master's in nursing education and a master's as a postmaster's as a gerontological nurse practitioner. So I started my entrepreneurial journey by getting fired. I was working a job as a nurse practitioner, and even though this company was highly rated, everybody talked about it, it's a great opportunity, it was not the right fit for me. There were just some things that just ethically I just couldn't agree with. And so we had a mutual parting with this company. And it was during that time that as I'm working off my severance and I had some time to figure out what my next steps is, I got started with a startup with a friend of mine, and we launched a business training CNAs during the middle of the recession in 2009. And it was during that experience that I developed my love for entrepreneurship and wanted to help other nurses become entrepreneurs as well.
Awesome. So, what is one thing I should point this out. There is a little bit of a feedback on your end, so wait till the feedback settles down before you answer the question, just letting you know. So the next question is, what is one thing you would tell a new entrepreneur?
I think the first thing I would tell them is to know why you're going into business. Why being an entrepreneur is important to you, because if you don't have something to hold on to, when you inevitably go into the ups and downs in business always has peaks and flows, it's going to be hard to be sustainable. And I've seen many business owners give up when they reach the hard times, when they're just close to getting that big payoff that they're wanting to get. And so you have to hold on to something that's going to keep you going even in the midst of the trial. And then also you need to know why your business exists. Now that's a separate question, but it's very important as well. It's a second why. Who are you serving, and how are you serving them? Why are you serving them? And it's important for you to know what problem your company solves. And if you aren't clear about what you have to offer, you're not going to be able to have your message out there for the public to understand. And so you'll miss your key audience because your message is garbled, and that's very important. So those two whys, I think, are the most important.
How did you get into the field of legal nurse consulting?
That was another interesting story. I was working as a nurse practitioner for a practice, and my specialty is geriatrics. And in the state of Indiana, when there is a lawsuit, often it first goes before the Board of Insurance, and they have what they call a medical review panel of experts to look at that to see if the case should go further on to trial. So I was asked to sit on a medical review panel. I'd never done it, but I thought, new experience, give it a try. Let's see what it's like. Always interested in the field. So I agreed to do it. And then about a couple weeks after that, I was asked to be a fact witness in another case. And the attorneys, both attorneys said, now, when you go to a deposition, which I didn't even know what a deposition was too much, we'll need your fee schedule. And I looked around and said, I didn't have a fee schedule. So I had to come up with something quickly. And that got me started as a legal nurse consultant. And I love what I do. I love what I do. I love that I can help the attorneys get what they need. I can help the clients get what they need. And then I can be that impartial person to tell you what's happened as an expert. So I really like that. I'm impartial. I don't, even though it may be the plaintiff or the defense hiring me, my job is to be neutral and to tell you what's there or not there and what the standard of care is or not is. And so that's my job. My job isn't to be partial or swayed by the stories of the families. My job is to go by the evidence. And that's what I like.
What made you start the Nurse Shark Academy?
That started because I was visiting a lot of nurses and talking to them, and they would message me and DM me and say, hey, so and so said I should talk to you. I'm interested in doing XYZ. And the more and more I got of that, the more I realized, hey, I probably need to put this into some sort of vehicle. And I was in an online challenge about doing an online challenge. And so in the challenge, I was challenged to do a challenge in 3 weeks. And I did my first challenge for the Nurse Shark Academy. Originally, I just wanted to make it a podcast, but it became so much more than that because I realized nurses needed someone to help them when they want to develop a business. Nurses and other healthcare professionals. We're not taught the business side of medicine, the business side of healthcare. We aren't taught those things in school. And so a lot of trial and error goes into it, and a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and money. And I wanted to help nurses to build a solid foundation for starting their business.
Sounds like an interesting business. What tips do you have for self-care?
Can you repeat that for me?
I said, what tips do you have for self-care?
For healthcare?
Self-care.
Self-care. Thank you. My biggest thing is to have a plan and put yourself on the schedule. As nurses and people in the healthcare field, we often put others ahead of ourselves as part of our calling, but we forget that you can't really give from an empty well, right? So put yourself on the calendar. I actually schedule my self-care time. I make sure that my time with the massage therapist is on there, that I get my nails done and get my hair done. I make sure that I put myself on that schedule, and I will take a day to relax. And, I'm not doing anything day except Netflix and chill, right? So putting yourself onto the schedule, making sure that you do that, and of course, making sure that you get your sleep, you eat properly, you stay hydrated, all those things that we know to do as nurses and other healthcare providers, but we fail to implement our own advice.
So now, what are simple things you can do to improve your overall health?
I'm going to say make sure you get the proper amount of sleep. There's too many people that don't get enough sleep. And there's this whole thing about being an entrepreneur and this hustle culture of, well, I was up for 36 hours and I was burning through the night. And, folks like Elon Musk make that sound great and wonderful. But if you do that too much, you're going to crash and burn. And you'll find that your creativity actually goes down. And so you aren't as productive as you were if you're not getting your proper rest. Now, the average is 8 hours per person, right? 8 hours a night. That's the average for individual. But you may be one that gets away with 6 hours, and that's perfect for you. You might be someone that needs 9 or 10. You've got to find out what works with your body and decide to do that.
While we're on the subject of sleep here, I'm a night shift worker myself. So what's your advice for any other night shift worker that's watching this, as far as making sure you get your sleep is concerned?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was a night shift nurse. I worked 7 p to 7 a. And one of the things I made sure I do is to tell my family, these are my sleeping hours. And I've created an environment for me to sleep. Now, this is before, I'm dating myself here, but this is before we had caller ID and cell phones and all that stuff. I would literally take the phone off the hook during my sleeping hours because I didn't want them, one, to call me in to do an extra shift, but two, I didn't want interruptions. And I explained to everybody, hey, I am a night shift worker. I got dark um, shades in my apartment so I can make sure it was right there. I could close the blinds, no light got in, and I had a sleep mask, and I made the environment as cool and comfortable as possible. So you have to set your mind and body to that sleep mode.
All right. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, more with Tina Baxter. Stay with us. Welcome back to Night Talk. I'm here with nurse practitioner Tina Baxter. So, how can we improve our mental well-being?
I like to take what I call mental breaks or mental holidays. And I do things like set a time a day just for thinking. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I set this time away where I can journal, maybe read a good book that has nothing to do with business or nothing to do with nursing, but something that takes me away from my day to day grind so I can find inspiration. And it's often during those times that I get the best business ideas. So, for example, a few years ago, right there in Hamilton Town Center, they had the Marvel movie marathon right before Endgame came out. And so I was on vacation that week. So my husband and I bought passes, and we literally spent like 8 hours every day at the theater watching all the Marvel movies over and over again because I'm a big superhero fan. And during that time, that's when some of these ideas started to really pop up. I had ideas for a book. I had ideas for the business because it was taking me away from the daily grind of, I have to do payroll and timesheets and things like that, or I have to see patients and take care of their needs, to really just open up my mind to possibilities, which is one of the reasons why I like superhero movies. It opens up your mind to different possibilities. And that time was just a mental break for me, sort of like a reset. And after COVID, a lot of us had to do that. You have that mental reset when the world started opening up again. I remember my first week back in the office and seeing patients face to face, and the patients are nervous. I'm nervous. I'm like, please don't cough. We've got our masks on. But you're thinking about all those different things. And I've got coworkers coming to my office, and I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't talked to people face to face almost in the work setting in 2 years. And now all of a sudden, you're coming to my office. I had to do a mental reset. So those are some of the things that we may need to do. You might have to take a break and just let go. Do something fun. Go out on a hike, you know, um, go sit by the river, go walk in the grass, whatever it is that you can do to bring you from yourself and into the present where you are. And that's practicing a little bit of that mindfulness, and that will definitely help.
I forgot to mention at the top of the segment, if you guys are hearing anything in the background, it's actually raining outside right now. That's why you're hearing all the rain thunder. So just want to make sure the viewers are aware of that. So my next question is, what is one business strategy that has helped your business grow?
What the I think one of the biggest things that's helped my business grow was having a social media presence. And I know some business owners that are like, oh, I don't want to do social media. But it was me starting to engage with social media. And it was right before the pandemic hit that I was really getting engaged more in social media. So when the pandemic hit, I was able to shift and pivot and do a lot of what I was doing online. And a lot of people weren't prepared for that because they'd never done a Zoom call or Skype or anything like that. So they didn't know what to do, but I had already started that process. So for me, it was getting me out there out of my comfort zone and reaching more people because I was meeting people on social media and we were having Zoom meetings and networking meetings online because we couldn't get together face to face. I started meeting with people from all over the world. I've had calls with people from Australia and Africa, and calls from people from England and New Zealand. And it's been great to talk to people from all over the world. I had a call with the CEO of a major company in Turkey. He happened to be from the US, but he also is from Turkey. He has dual citizenship. He had a business in Turkey and a business in the US. And he was going back and forth, and he was stuck in Turkey during the pandemic. But guess what? We got a chance to talk and meet because of social media. And that never would have happened a few years ago because we just weren't doing it as much.
Awesome. That's an interesting story too. That's really cool. What is your favorite way to relax?
I think my favorite way to relax is to read a good book. I'm an avid reader. I like to find books from different things. So I'll read a personal development book or somebody I find interesting. Like I read a lot of John Maxwell. I enjoy his books. I read Damon John's book. But then also I'll read things that have nothing to do with business. I happen to love a lot of Stuart Wood's, um, the spy thriller type stuff. I'll read that. I've been known to pull out a Harlequin romance or two. So I love to read. And I've done this since I was probably about 4 years old.
Yeah, my mom's favorite book was she was into the like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and things like that. I never really got into that stuff, but it was good for her.
I'm a Tolkien fan, so when the movies came out several years ago, before every movie, I would reread the book. So I'd be ready for the movie.
Right. All right, so we now have some topics that we're going to discuss, and I want your thoughts on this, and we'll just run as many topics as we can as time permits. So we're going to start with, let's talk about heart health. What are your thoughts on heart health?
Well, I'm going to say we're doing a better job of getting the message out to take care of your heart. Where we are lacking is allowing people the opportunity to do it because there are in some places, particularly where I live, but there are places where there are food deserts. And so people have a hard time getting the proper nutrition. And so we need to really look at our food supply and how we're providing nutrition for individuals and look at food not just for sustenance, but also as medication. Your food is medicine. It's very important what you eat and how you eat what you eat. And so, with all the changes that we're having with the genetic engineering and the fooding and food and things like that, we need to look at the food industry and really see how we are providing the proper nutrition for people for them to grow. That's one key indication. The other is, do we have sidewalks and places for people to have recreation? And there are some places that there's no sidewalk for the kids to ride their bikes on. There's no sidewalk for people to walk on. So as a city and as a state, we need to look at creative ways to provide those solutions for all of Hoosiers.
All right. What about for older adults?
Say that again.
Like just in general, what are your thoughts on how to take care of ourselves when we're older, like when we're a lot older?
When you're older, yes. I'm going to say stay active. Stay active. This is what I found in working with my patients who are older. The ones that stay engaged and had a reason to get up and go and get out of bed in the morning did a lot better than the ones that just sat around and watched TV all day and didn't do much of anything. And I'm talking about not, people that have chronic illnesses, diseases, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, all this. But the ones that stayed active, that were engaged in life, they seem to fare and do a whole lot better than the ones that found that were more sedentary and solitary. So we need to make sure that we have something for our seniors so that they can stay engaged. That's one of the biggest things I ask when I talk to my patients. What is your typical day like? And what are you doing? And if you're telling me that for 8 hours a day you're sitting there watching television, I'm saying, okay, well, can we do something while you're watching television? Can we do a little bit of exercise while you're sitting there? There's so many different ways that we can engage our patients, and this is where telemedicine comes in. Wouldn't it be great if we had a telehealth program that was easy for our seniors to use, that can help them to exercise even from their bed, even from their wheelchair? Why don't we have those platforms available? So I think that would be awesome and affordable. That's the other problem.
All right, we are going to take one last break. When we come back, we'll conclude our conversation with Tina Baxter. Stay with us. Welcome back to Night Talk. All right, back to the topics of some of the most common health things. And again, for those who are watching, if you hear any background noises, it's rain. So the next on my sheet here would be mental health. Let's talk about mental health.
So our mental health is so important, and I appreciate some of the celebrities that have come out and talked about the mental health struggles that they're having, because it encourages other people to talk about it. We need to understand that mental health is healthcare, and just you know, I was thinking about Simone Biles, and she just came back to um, gymnastics again, and they just showed her on TV, and she took her time off during the Olympics because she had the twisties, as she calls them. And it was a problem in, she said, in her mental state, that it was unsafe for her to compete, and she wasn't mentally prepared for that. And that took some guts to say, hey, my head's not in the game. I've got some stuff going on. And I think we need to do that more. I think we need to talk about mental health and not to stigmatize it as much. And as a person that works with people with mental health conditions, I have seen some of my patients and clients just do phenomenal work despite the challenges that they have. And I've seen others, that really struggled, but they were able to overcome. And so I want to say to anybody out there that's struggling with depression or mental illness, to let you know that you are not alone, and that there is help available to you. And that if you're having suicidal thoughts, please, there's a national hotline. Call the national hotline. I believe it's, I can't remember. I think it's 1-800 talk or something like that. I'd have to look it up. And I'll make sure I email it to you so you'll have it for your show notes. But worst case scenario, call 911. Call a friend. Call someone to help you. Don't go through this alone. Um, Mental health care is health care, and we need to remember that. You cannot separate the physical and the mental. A lot of these things that we're learning now in science is that there is a genetic component for things. There's a biochemical component for the reasons why you're feeling the way you're feeling. So I want people to know that there is help available. And please reach out to your family practice provider, or someone in your local community, a local mental health center, if you need help. Don't do this alone. You don't have to.
And there's also a phrase I use, and this is one of the benefits of me working night shift. I always tell people, if you need someone, even if you just need to talk, please let me know. I'm up all night, even on the nights I'm not working. Please, I would rather get a call from you at 3 o'clock in the morning to hear your struggles, your problems, than to go to your funeral over something that could have been prevented in the first place.
And can I say this? We have seen in healthcare a rise in suicides among nurses and physicians. And I want to say to my healthcare professionals that are out there, I know that you've been on the front lines for a very long time. We have been working nonstop. And I know that it's a struggle because I'm there with you. But please say something. Please let us help If you can't trust your employer, go to your employee assistance program. Even if you have to go to the next town to get some help because you want some anonymity, whatever you need to do, get help. Don't feel like you have to shoulder it alone. I have had too many colleagues that I've known that have died by suicide and or have left the profession because of burnout. Let's take care of one another and take care of yourself.
Well said. Well said. All right, so let's go back to our little discussion here. Let's talk about chronic diseases. What are your thoughts on those?
Which disease?
Chronic.
Chronic diseases. One of the things that I talk to people about if you have a chronic illness is to learn about your illness, educate yourself, talk to your providers, discuss it with them, find out what it is that you need to do to help manage your symptoms and keep them under control and at bay. If you have questions, ask them, write it down, keep a journal. I often will write down medication and why I'm giving it so that you'll know when I give you that prescription, you know why you're taking it. And so if your provider is not doing that for you, stop and ask the questions. Find out why you're taking that medicine and what it's supposed to do. How is it supposed to affect you? And then if you have a chronic illness, my husband has rheumatoid arthritis, so I always tell him break things up, do things in small batches. Don't try to overdo, but take your time. And it may be my particularly with my clients that have arthritis. I used to teach chronic disease management class, and I would say, listen, if you have to get the laundry done, don't try to get the laundry done all in one day or all in one time frame. Break it up into usable chunks. That way you can rest in between. So if it's getting the laundry together and taking it to the washer and setting it down and sitting for 5 minutes, and then getting up and loading the washer, and while the washer's going, maybe you sit and rest for a little while, then you unload the washer, put it in the dryer and put the dryer on, then sit and rest. And then while you're watching your favorite program, you can sit and fold clothes. So you break it up into bite-sized chunks so that you're not overexerting yourself. And then recognizing that you may have to adapt and adjust. And what do I mean by that? It means that maybe because you have a chronic illness, you have to negotiate your life a little bit differently and being okay with that. I'm not saying that, settling and accepting your disease. I'm saying that you have to look at that as that at this moment, this is what I need to do so that I can have the best quality of life that I can. And having those conversations with your family members about what you can and can't do and how to best support you. So if you're wanting to lose weight, oftentimes we try to get our family in to help us, right? I'm going on a diet or I'm planning on losing weight. Let's, change how we eat. Maybe we don't go out and have ice cream every night. Maybe we have ice cream just once a week. Maybe I cut down and we have soda once a week. But get your family to support you in what you're doing. But my best advice to you is educate yourself, get education, get good quality education. That's important and key. Don't just rely on your Google search because I can guarantee you there will be sites on there that you don't know who's written that information. And it could be somebody somewhere that, that just wrote about their one experience. So make sure you vet who you go to talk to and you talk to reliable people and start with your healthcare provider. You diagnose me with this. What does this mean for my life and how do I manage it? And you'll be surprised. I had a client who was able to get off his diabetes medication. He joined one of those weight loss groups and he exercised and he got off his medication. Well, when he stopped doing what he was doing, guess what? Diabetes came back and it came back worse. So he's having to do it again because he stopped doing what he was doing. He gained weight. He started going back to those bad eating habits, and this is what happened. So there are things that you can do for your health and work with your healthcare provider and make them your ally. Have them come alongside you and really take advantage to those opportunities that are out there.
All right, we have about 1 minute and about almost 10 seconds left of the segment. So, how can someone contact you and schedule a consultation?
Great. If you are wanting, as a nurse, and you're looking to start your own business and you want to get a hold of me, you can always reach me at the nurse.sharkacademy.biz. And then if you are an attorney and you're looking for help on your cases, you can reach me at baxterprofessionalservices.com. And if you are looking for medical advice and you want to reach me there, you can contact me on either of those places, and I will refer you to a place where you can get a medical advice. I am accepting patients at my clinical practice, and I will be happy to share that information with qualified individuals.
All right. Well, my guest has been Tina Baxter. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll be back next week with another guest for you. Till then, for Tina Baxter and all of us on Night Talk, I'm Jacob Pyle. Thank you for watching, and good night, everybody.
If you want to be a guest on The Jacob Pyle Show, or if you'd like a DVD copy of tonight's program, send Jacob an email. His email address is jtpyle1@aol.com. Or if you're ordering a DVD copy of tonight's program, send $10 check or money order to The Jacob Pyle Show, care of Pyle Media Ventures, Post Office Box 154, Noblesville, Indiana 46061. Please include the air date seen on your screen when ordering. Residents outside of Indiana add $5 shipping and handling. Join us next week on The Jacob Pyle Show, where Jacob's guest will be singer and poet Luke Austin Doherty. This is Zach Brown speaking for The Jacob Pyle Show, a Pyle Media Ventures presentation. This program has been pre-recorded.